Welcome to the KBlend Show. Honest conversations about God, mental health, and chronic pain. Without masks, without pretending, and without fake smiles. Here are your hosts, John and Krista Kleider.
Hi, this is Krista Kleider, and I'm coming to you with the KBlend Show today, and we are located in a very special place, the Monroe County Fair in Monroe, Michigan, and we are here for our 5th year at the Monroe County Fair. Is it our 5th year? I think that we've probably been here for about 5 years. I know it's been quite a while, and a little interesting story about the Monroe County Fair. When we first applied to have a booth here at the fair, we were actually denied, and they didn't understand what the KBlend program was, and they were very hesitant to allow us to have space here. So when we actually applied, they denied us, and we actually had to appear in front of the fair board with probably about 10 patients we took with us that day. And those 10 patients gave the fair board quite the testimony of how the KBlend program had saved their life. And so it is quite the honor to be here. They did let us into the fair, and that was 5 years ago, and we are proud to be here once again in the first Merchant Expo Center at the Monroe County Fair. So today I also have Astacia, and many of our listeners will recognize Astacia. She's been on the radio with us now a couple times over the last probably about 2 years, and she loves to share her testimony about how KBlend saved her life. And so I'm here with Astacia, and then also John, my husband, and many of you know that John is the operations manager of the KBlend program, and so he really likes to be involved in all this stuff as well, because we run the program together, and we get to know every patient and hear every story and the amazing testimonies that our patients share with us about how the KBlend program has helped save their lives. So, Astacia, do you have any questions for me about our booth this year, or what's going on with our booth, or anything about the KBlend program?
So we did things kind of different this year, and I think it turned out pretty good. This is probably my 3rd year for the fair booth. I think my question is, do you think we're going to see 100 patients in Pakistan?
Oh, that is a great question. So for the listeners that can't quite see exactly what's going on here in our booth, is that our little 8-year-old daughter, her name is also Krista, and so we call her Little Krista. Little Krista brought her 3D printer with us this year, and she's actually printing off 3D phone stands and selling those for only $10 a piece. And 100% of the money is towards our medical mission trip to Pakistan in December. So a lot of people freak out when they hear Pakistan. You're actually going to go over there with the war that's going on, and we respond, God willing. God willing, we do want to go back over there in December. They have invited us back. They actually want us there more often than once a year, but it is quite costly for us to go over there. And this year, our children also want to go with us. So she has brought her 3D printer, and she's trying to raise money for Pakistan for this mission trip, of course, where we provide psychotherapy, we provide medication management, and then also the KBlend treatments for those patients. Last year when we went, Astacia, we saw 53 patients, and that was just me. 53 patients. It was some long days that we had there over the 3 weeks that we were there. We also performed well over 75 infusions for those patients. We also provided psychotherapy and group therapy for those patients. So it was pretty intensive. And as you brought up, for this year, we do have higher standards. We do have higher goals. We hope to see 100 patients. We hope to do well over 100 to 150 infusions. And again, that will be over 3 weeks. But it is costly to get there. So God willing, we will be able to go despite all the conflict that's happening over there. And God willing, we will be able to see that volume of patients. We are very, very excited to be returning.
I think we can make it happen.
I think we can make it happen too. Absolutely. So that's one part of our booth. And of course, we do have a couple other things going on in our booth this year. John, you want to share with them about the new launch of Fabric Air?
Oh my gosh. We have been almost, I would say, close to 2 years now struggling with the internet shutting off our phones, filtering our text messages to our patients. And we, for the first time, have actually launched our own peer-to-peer network right over the cell towers. We're able to get SIM cards for patients for just like $20 a month. And now they have unfiltered, unmonitored AI removed communication channels, and they can speak to us. And that's really been the number one battle we've had over the last couple of years. And in fact, that's why we're on WMUZ, is because we're not really allowed or welcomed in a lot of the traditional advertising networks. You know, Google would put 101 ways to control your depression and anxiety all over the world for us. But the minute we talk about surrender and vulnerability and intimacy and guiding people out of what they think is a disease of where they need control, and suddenly as we convince them to surrender, their lives change almost instantly. You know, that's considered misinformation. And so finally we're having tools where we don't have to talk to patients in code. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, really, that's where KBlend came from, is us talking in code to patients. Like, we're not allowed to use the K word. I can say it on the radio now. WMZ has come to understand that we're legitimate. But, I mean, ketamine can be said on the radio, but we can't say it on the internet anymore.
Absolutely. And what many of our listeners may not know is that we actually had a lot of our ads canceled, especially on social media platforms. So Google, for example, and Facebook. Facebook was a big one that does not allow ketamine. So we are not allowed to advertise to patients. And yet that's where 90% of our patients live their lives, is at home, buried under the covers in their bed and scrolling on their phones, right? And yet we're not able to reach them. So how many phone calls do we get, John, where people are like, why have I never heard about KBlend? And we're like, we're trying to get the word out there.
I'm lifetime banned. Like, I'm not allowed on Facebook anymore. And, you know, I'm the bad guy of the internet. How that is, I don't make the rules, right? Like, we live by the rules. And so that's why WMUZ has been gracious enough to work with us to allow us to have a way to communicate and to reach the public. And that's why you're not going to see it on Facebook, and you're not going to see it on Google, and your Google searches are filtered. You know, like, what a lot of people don't realize is, you know, like, when Google is trying to give you an answer to your search, it's trying to give you what you want. The entire thing on Google is built out of providing what it is that you want and what it is you're seeking after.
So working off of specific algorithms.
Yeah, they're algorithms to get you to come back. You know, it's like putting sugar in our food. You know, if they lace our food with sugar, we're going to eat more of it, right? Well, Google's doing the same thing, and the goal with Google is they want you to come back. And as long as you're getting what you think you want, so like if you want to know bad things about ketamine, you're going to see lots of bad things. If you want to know good things, it's going to show you good things. So you've got to recognize that research on Google really isn't unbiased. It's actually slanted to your own bias.
And what so many people don't understand is that the KBlend treatments, the ketamine treatments that we do administer for our patients, for over thousands of patients every year here in our little clinic, right? Our 2 clinics that we have, is that it is backed by medical research. There is medical research out there. For over the last decade, we have known about these amazing results of ketamine in the world of mental health and chronic pain. And we have lots of studies now that show that. And the crazy part is that it's not more supported by mainstream healthcare providers. However, it is getting to the point where it is being more accepted, to the point where big institutions like the Cleveland Clinic and the Mayo Clinic, they have their own ketamine infusion centers now. So it is everywhere. The research is everywhere, and it's saving countless of people's lives. And the awesome part is that we get to be on a Christian radio station sharing the love of Christ at the same time while we're administering these infusions, and that's what sets us apart.
Okay, but I think the real thing that sets us apart is that we actually focus on recovery. Like, we're walking these people out of these diseases, right? Like, whereas a lot of these institutions, and there's really what we refer to as a psychedelic world, where they're trying to chemically make them feel better all the time. And your goal has really been to teach them to live their life again. And that's a different goal than just giving them another drug. So, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say, I think if people knew more about had more information about how this works and what we do, I think it would kind of relieve some of the skepticism about the therapy. And then if we weren't censored, then maybe we would have a bigger reach and we could help more people.
Absolutely. And that's why we're again here at the Monroe County Fair. And when you're listening to this is actually the last day of the fair on Saturday today. So please make sure, listeners, that if you're hearing this and you want to come out and meet John and I in person, we are at the booth in the First Merchant Expo Center until 9 o'clock in the evening tonight on Saturday. And we would love to answer any questions that you have, talk to you about your condition, hear your story, understand exactly where you are. Please come out and see us again at the Monroe County Fair, the First Merchant Expo Center. We will be here live.
Complete the experience. Sign up at www.mykblend.com or call 734-605-8500.
Do you have any other questions? What have you heard people asking us this week?
I've heard a lot of people asking about how this works. If we take it every day.
Oh, you're right.
How fast does it
I had noticed
work?
that. You're right. A lot of people have asked that. Is this a daily pill?
Right.
Well, and it's really hard to guesstimate that, right, without actually hearing exactly where the patient is at and what medications they've been on and their history of suicidal ideations or hospitalizations, their psych history in general, but then also medical comorbidities, of course, also play a role in how you're going to respond to treatments. So oftentimes people want me to have a magic ball and be able, a crystal ball, to look into it, right, and say, well, this is exactly what you're going to need and how you're going to respond. But I can't do that, unfortunately. We do have a good way to, I have through experience, years of experience now in administering the KBlend treatments, I do have very good judgment, but sometimes I'm wrong. God has bigger plans than I do, and He knows better than I do. So sometimes what I think might take only just a handful of treatments might take 2 handfuls of treatments, right? But we won't know that until the person actually gets started. But is it a daily thing? Absolutely not. We do not do it daily. Most of our patients come in anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week, and that could last anywhere from a couple weeks to up to 6 weeks. It really depends on the patient. And so that's why we do a thorough consultation before every person starts the program.
Okay, I'm curious. She has such a technical explanation. What would you tell the patients when they asked you that this week?
If they ask me
about the once daily thing, like.
So I kind of explain my story a little bit, and then I kind of do, once a month, just to get like a maintenance almost. One of the other things I was gonna say is I was asked, how do I feel? And that was one of the questions that stood out to me. And I said, I feel like a brand new person. I feel 10 times better than when I came in. When did I start noticing a difference? And then I explained it was my 3rd treatment by that time. What would I tell them? That's a good question. I've been thinking about that for a couple days. What would I tell them?
I don't know. The reality is you have such a powerful story, and just the fact that you're standing here means something to me. I mean, I don't think you could have done this when you were 18 years old,
This is something I never thought I'd be able to do, speak in front of people.
And yet these people ask her questions like, does it work? And I'm like, she's standing in front of you.
I was going to say, you're doing this very, very well for being so nervous about it, though. You're very natural, Stacia. You know that, right? And so the more often that you do things like this, John's right, that we do focus on recovery from depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal ideations, OCD. We do focus on that recovery, and that recovery is paramount to get you longer lasting results. And so we do want you to step out of your comfort zone, to do things that you're not used to doing, because the neuroplasticity, and I know that's a big fancy word for our listeners, but basically with our treatments, we're able to restore broken communication pathways that have been shut down from years of depression, anxiety, trauma, right? And so when we restore those communication pathways, you're able to think with your whole brain again. But then that sometimes scares people because they're like, well, wait a minute, you mean you're going to change me as a person? So what do you think? Were you changed as a person where you were completely different, or did you just find the original Stacia that you lost so many years ago?
I think I definitely found my original self. and I felt almost as if it's like I came back after pushing things down so far and hiding my true self. That addiction and other things kind of suppressed. I definitely feel like it changed me, and it changed my life in ways that I can't explain.
Yeah. That's amazing. And we are so thankful that you're here for the third year in a row helping us at this booth again. And so Astacia, she is a living testimony of the KBlend program. And she is one of the reasons why we're here this year again at the Monroe County Fair, the first Merchant Expo Center, to meet people, to get the word out, to communicate to people that we are an amazing clinic that provides amazing results. And especially, let's pause for a second, treatment resistant. You were labeled as treatment resistant before you came into the program. Is there anybody that the KBlend program can't help?
I don't think so. I think anybody could benefit from this type of treatment.
And what do you think if the person who's walking by or listening right now and they're thinking to themselves, you know what, I'm just not that bad. I don't need it. What are they talking about? I'm not that bad. I'm not as bad as Astacia was. I don't have all those addiction problems. I might have some suicidal ideations. I might be a little depressed on some days, but I'm not that bad.
I think they just might not be ready to go there yet. There's a lot of people that tell me that. My sister's one of them. I think anybody can benefit from this, and you have to be willing to go down that path to explore other options.
And release that control in your life, right? We know that in medical literature, in the textbooks, when I went and got my psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner degree, another master's degree, right? Went through that program. In the textbook for one of the classes, it clearly said in black and white, depression and anxiety are diseases of control. We know that, right? When we worry too much about things, when we get too scared, when we put ourselves in that state of fight or flight. And sometimes we can't control that. And other times we can control that, but we allow our brains to race and get into that spiral, right? And so, John, as you pointed out, recovery is, again, one of our focuses in the clinic. So what would your response be to somebody walking by or listening right now who's talking about, well, recovery isn't possible? What are they talking about? I've been depressed for 30 years of my life. I will never get out of this.
It's such a hard question to answer because you know they're not going to believe you. And so I usually try to point them to the fight or flight mode. And I'll point out to them that just as fast as you can see a threat and you feel your body respond physically, I watch people every day drop out of the fight mode just as fast. And they can start to relate to that. And then the disbelief sets in, right? And then you got to explain to them, well, now we're going to teach you how to come out on your own, because if you could come out of that mode on your own, you wouldn't need our help, right? Like if you could go home and calm yourself, relax, enjoy, sense the beauty of life and have the passion, the emotions, and, you know, go through all of what life has to offer versus that numb state that you're always trying to protect yourself in. If you could do that on your own, you wouldn't need us. But if you're willing to walk one step at a time with us, we'll show you what it's like not to have to be in that state.
Well, what people also don't understand all the time is that when you're in that state of depression and anxiety and trauma, right, is that your brain has those physical changes. The fight or flight mode actually creates physical changes in your brain. So again, with the neuroplasticity from the KBlend treatments, we're able to basically break you out of that fight or flight. So you go from surviving to thriving, right? And so it truly is a life-saving infusion for many, many patients.
Complete the experience. Sign up at www.mykblend.com or call 734-605-8500.
Welcome back to the KBlend Show. My name is Dr. Krista Kleider, and I am thrilled to be with you today on the KBlend Show talking from the Monroe County Fair in Monroe, Michigan. We are located in the First Merchant Expo Center building, where we have an awesome booth this year. And Estacia, you were able to accept an award for us this year. We actually won for the first time in the 5 years that we've been here, the best inside booth at the Monroe County Fair.
I was surprised. She come up and she said, we'd like to give you an award for the best exhibit. And I was like, oh, okay. I was excited. I wish you guys would have been here while we got it, but that's amazing. It's been 5 years and we finally got it.
That is amazing. And we were actually out in the Midway riding rides with our kiddos at the time. So when you sent me the text, John had actually gotten on, I think it's the skateboard maybe you were getting on, that he reluctantly was going to ride with our 8-year-old, and he decided to go on it with her. And so I yelled at him. I said, oh my gosh, we won. And I'm like all tearful when you texted that to me. I so appreciate it. So our booth is amazing this year. We have a lot going on in our booth this year. We're not just talking about the KBlend program, which of course, as we just spoke about in the previous segment of the show, saves hundreds of lives every year, right? But also, John, Fabric Air. We really want to hear more about Fabric Air. I know that you talked about it from the perspective of how it can really help our patients and connect with our patients, because our phones are always listening to us, right? And even when I do psychotherapy with patients, sometimes on their phone because the video connection doesn't work or whatnot, you know, they talk about their suicidal ideations, and then all of a sudden their phone starts blowing up at them, all these messages about suicide. That's scary to people. That's really scary. So a lot of my patients don't even want to talk to me anymore on the phone because their phone is always listening. One patient has to put her phone outside the room because it's so bad. She's afraid that there's people listening. How would you respond to that, and how can Fabric Air help them with that?
It's real. Like, I've seen it happen more times I want to admit. I mean, I've seen people's phones actually start giving them information on contacting the suicide hotline. And, like, their phones will go completely berserk just having a conversation with us. And, you know, you wouldn't think that that would be a threat, you know, but you don't realize until you say something wrong that there are really people listening to us at all times. And they have their algorithms, they have their ways that, like, if we say what they don't like, well, they'll shut our phones off I've had 3-day punishments where KBlend phones have been dead for 3 days because I texted the wrong thing to a patient. And, you know, at the end of the day, these are deceptive diseases. Like, people believe that if they could just get a little bit stronger, they could control this thing in their life, not realizing that when they controlled the last thing, they got something else worse than the last. And so, like, the deception of depression and anxiety type diseases is very real. And if you can't discuss that with people and their phone is in the way and they got to take their phone out of the room to even talk to us, that just makes everything that much harder. And so I've spent the last, I would say 18 months to 2 years now working on redeveloping all of our systems and converting it so that we don't have to use a traditional phone. Like, I now have contracts where we're buying SIM cards, which gives us what they call peer-to-peer access. So, like, they'll know, like, what cell tower your phone's connected to, but your phone's going to talk to our servers, or I even have put an open source software out now where you can build your own server. And now your phone is going to a private server that we have control over, or you have control over, wherever you want it to go. And it's all encrypted, so they don't know what you're saying anymore. And suddenly you can have open communications without some filter trying to decide if what you said is good or bad.
Right.
Absolutely. And so tell us a little bit more, though, about, is this a new concept? Because how people respond to us, like, well, why have I never heard of KBlend before? Why does this seem new to me? Is this a new concept in the phone industry, or why don't we know about this as like everyday citizens? Why don't we have this at our fingertips?
Well, it's always been there. It's very unless lesser known. The easier way to describe it is like Xfinity, Mint Mobile. Some of these new startups are coming out, and you wonder, how does that work? Because whose towers am I using, right? Because historically we were taught to think that if I'm on T-Mobile, I have to use T-Mobile towers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's happened is we now have the ability to negotiate contracts. And so we work with a company that goes to all the carriers, negotiates an agreement so that we can have a fixed fee every month, and we have radio access on the cell tower. And what this does is it gives us the ability to work through the cell tower and connect to a phone the same way T-Mobile or anybody else would, right? Except now you're not on a Verizon plan, you're on your own plan. Now you have to be the phone company because all you're buying is access to the radio in the tower. And that's how all these other startups have really gotten going. And that's why you see your cable company trying to sell you cell phones now.
And this was a concept that you created or started thinking about a couple years ago because of all the issues we were having with the KBlend program about talking to our patients with ketamine, right? And so we would be texting somebody or they would text us, tell me more about ketamine. What is ketamine? And as soon as we would respond, literally, like you said, we would be shut down. We wouldn't be able to call that person, text that person, and we would be banned for 3 days at a time. So people were thinking that we weren't responding back to them when in reality, we just couldn't connect with them because our phones were listening. The powers that be above us, they were listening to everything that we were saying, and we were getting shut down and banned.
Yeah, and I tried everything. I did not wake up one day and say, hey, let's start buying cell phone SIM cards. Like it took me a long time struggling with the problem to figure out how to fix it. Like, there was no flashing sign saying, hey, go get your own phones, go get SIM cards, right? So I negotiated trying to get, it's called 10 DLC certifications now they're using. It's supposed to stop the spammers from reaching your phone, but it seems to be very effective at stopping me from reaching your phone. So I don't really know what this 10 DLC thing is, but it's very real now. And they just tell me, no, they're not going to approve my campaign to be able to text or talk to patients. Mm-hmm. And so you struggle with these people trying to work within the rules. And eventually you just discover you have to create something new.
Astacia, how does that make you feel as a patient thinking about where you were at before the KBlend program? Where would you be today if you wouldn't have come through the program with us? I mean, how does that make you feel? Does that make you angry, frustrated, sick?
I think maybe all of the above. And I think it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be censored, and it should be easier for people to find out about more information about what we do, have better access to get help and better mental health care. I'm not sure where I would be if I didn't have access to this type of therapy.
Absolutely. And again, the KBlend program is backed by a couple decades of medical literature now, years of experience from John and I running the KBlend program, thousands of infusions we have performed in our 2 little clinics that we have, and have seen countless and countless amazing testimonials come through, just like yours, Astacia. So, John, also let's go back to Fabric Air, though, because I can only imagine that some people are really interested in this right now, especially our listeners. And by the way, those of you who are listening, we are broadcasting from the Monroe County Fair and the First Merchants Expo Center. So please come see us today on Saturday. We're here until 9 p.m. Come out and check us out. Meet us in person and ask us questions. But John, going back to Fabric Air, this is a spinoff from the KBlend Clinic because it came out of necessity. It's like we went to see the George Washington movie, Young George Washington, I think 3 times with our kids because our kids were begging us to go back and see it. Like their idol right now is George Washington. They want to learn everything about him and everything that he stood for, right? So you were bringing up when we were talking about bringing it to the fair and trying to launch it here at the fair that it was like for necessity. That we made it out of a necessity that we needed for the clinic because we just couldn't get anything else to work. Tell us about that.
Well, and what's interesting too is the most interested people that have come through our booth this week have been other business owners. There's other businesses here that are looking at, well, maybe I could use that too. And I really hadn't built it with that expectation, but necessity is the mother of invention, and before long you have something that people want, right? And so I think going in the next couple of weeks, we're going to really expand what we've already built to help other business owners, because the reality is we need secure ways to talk to employees. We need secure ways to reach family members. And the most amazing part is we can instantly spam filter by simply adding an extension number to your phone. So like our new phone system can literally pick up your calls for you. And if the number is not recognized, ask them to leave a message, identify themselves, or hang up on them. And now the only call that gets to you is somebody that knows your phone number plus 1 for mom or 2 for dad. And so like by just putting one extra step in there, we're literally giving people a secure phone, a secure place to communicate with one another. And at the end of the day, you can have conversations you wouldn't otherwise have.
Complete the experience. Sign up at www.mykblend.com or call 734-605-8500.
Welcome back to the KBlend Show. This is Dr. Krista Kleider, your host for today on the KBlend Show, and we are somewhere very special today. We are at the Monroe County Fair in Monroe, Michigan. We have a booth located in the First Merchant Expo Center, and we're hoping that our listeners will come and see us today, Saturday, and we are here until 9 p.m. tonight in the First Merchant Expo Center at the Monroe County Fair. So please come out and meet John and I. You hear us on the radio all the time, or you see us on our podcast. Please come and meet us, ask us questions about the program, and see what awesome things that we're doing, including raising money for our next trip to Pakistan, where we will provide mental health treatment, including KBlend treatments for hopefully over 100 patients in Pakistan this year. So please come out and see us. And today I'm joined with John, my husband, who of course is the operations director of the KBlend program, and Astacia. Many of you know Astacia. She's an amazing patient who has been on the KBlend program a couple times now over the last couple years. And we are so thrilled to have you here again with us today. You have been doing an amazing job volunteering your time here at the KBlend booth and sharing your testimony to those who are walking by, those who have questions. You have been able to see firsthand, knowing not only where you were at before the KBlend program, but also what the people are like who are coming by our booth. Explain to us what you've been identifying in some of the people who are coming up to ask questions.
I think the most interesting thing I've saw these last few days is you're not normally able to spot depression just by looking at somebody, but a lot of times you are. And I've learned that depression has many faces. And the biggest thing is people are afraid to ask for help. So I feel like if we can, make it more comforting, because a lot of people don't want to reach out, we can make it more comforting for them to open up to us, then I think that they'd feel a lot safer and okay in this type of space. I think once they know more about it, then they'll be kind of, I want to... That's what I was going to say.
You're absolutely right, though, right? Because you're part of that solution by having you here, right? Because John and I, we're probably, well, especially me, I'm very technical. People ask me a question, I try to provide them with the research behind it, the scientific evidence, why the KBlend treatments work, right? But what they don't hear from me is a living testimony, and that's where you come in. You're able to provide that to people coming through here. And you're right, depression, anxiety, trauma has so many faces, and we see that every day in the clinic. We treat patients on all different levels of the depression spectrum, I call it, where you have somebody who maybe is just going through a very challenging divorce and they're struggling because they're going through this nasty divorce and splitting their kids up with their ex-spouse. Then you have patients who have been dealing with severe symptoms for over 20, 30, 40 years and that they're still struggling. Medications haven't been working. Multiple traditional mental health therapies haven't been working, whether it's talk therapy, whether it's TMS treatments, whether it's ECT treatments, all those have not been working for them. So we see patients in situational depression all the way through very, very treatment resistant and years of dealing with those symptoms.
I think for me, the best part about discovering this type of treatment is I didn't think there was any other options for me. I was deemed, I guess, what would you say, complicated or complex case. So I kind of just lost hope at that point. And then when I found out about this, I'm like, okay, there's options. I have a way to approach this differently. And then hopefully this will be something that can change my life. And it did. So I'm really glad that I found this. This is the only thing that has worked for me. So if I could, I guess, show you in a movie or just show you in a split second what this will do for you, I would do that. But I can only tell you my story.
Absolutely. And it's a powerful story because your struggles with mental illness started when you were a young child and continued on through your teenage years. And you're still a young woman by all means. You're 24? 25. Okay. 25 years old. And so, but you've been through a lot in those 25 years, everything from the trauma to addiction problems, depression, anxiety, but you are doing amazing now. You are not just surviving, you're thriving now. How does that feel?
It feels amazing. I wouldn't see myself doing something like this about 3-4 years ago. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for this. I actually didn't think I was going to make it this far, and to see that this is something that I'm doing with my time.
Complete the experience. Sign up at www.mykblend.com or call 734-605-8500.
7 months ago, I had plans to kill myself about 3 times in that month.
Scott had been dealing with anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation for over 50 years. Then he found out about KBlend.
My best buddy got me into KBlend, and I told him, there's no way you can fix me. I'm unfixable. And John and Krista assured me that they can help me.
John and Krista Kleida of KBlend use their proprietary and highly personalized ketamine infusion plan to work like a sledgehammer to break the chains of bondage to anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, PTSD, and other mood disorders. Call the KBlend helpline at 734-605-8500.
My experience with KBlend, such a loving environment, just fantastic.
KBlend can help you too. Call the KBlend helpline at 734-605-8500.
So Astacia, being here at the Monroe County Fair here in the First Merchant Expo Center building where our booth is located, you've had the pleasure of seeing multiple different types of people come into the booth asking questions not only about KBlend, but of course Fabric Air, the new phone company that we're launching, a private network where you can link all of your phones together. And then also the fundraising that we're doing for our Pakistan mission trip that we're going to in December back to Pakistan, our 3rd trip back. And we have seen last time we were there last December, we saw over 50 patients. We did over 75 infusions for those patients. And we are hoping that we can see over 100 patients this time when we go back to Pakistan, do maybe, hopefully, God willing, 150 infusions when we go back. But the people that are coming into the booth, you've had the pleasure of speaking to a lot of them, answering their questions, feeling them out, seeing what they're afraid of about the KBlend treatments, what doubts that they have about the KBlend treatments, what their thoughts are about our program. What are you experiencing or seeing in these people that come into our booth and are talking to us?
What am I seeing? I'm seeing, I guess, a lot of skepticism, but also for me, I can kind of feel, I don't want to say I can feel how they feel, but you can kind of feel, I guess, the curiosity and almost like the being uncomfortable, I guess you could say, and scared to ask for help. They ask a couple questions, but mostly they seem kind of hesitant, like I was in the beginning.
And we were talking about in the previous segment, that you're part of that solution to making people feel comfortable because you are a living testimony to the KBlend program, and you have experience having hopelessness to now having hope and talking about a future and the plans that you have for your future. So how do you try to talk to somebody when they come up to the booth and you can sense that hopelessness? What are some of the things that you would say to them to encourage them and encourage them to seek out the KBlend program for help?
Usually I don't really say anything specific. I kind of try to tell them about myself, and I 9 times out of 10 find a lot of things that we have in common that I've also struggled with. So I kind of make them feel comfortable and feel like they can speak openly about their situation. And I like to tell them that there are other options and share my story so they know that there is hope for treatment and they don't have to deal with those symptoms any longer.
And that's one of the things that Satan tries to trick us into, is that when we're living in that depression, that anxiety, that trauma state, right, that we're the only ones that are feeling like that.
Right.
We're the only ones who have ever experienced something like this. And so we let our brains trick us into thinking that we're on an island all by ourselves.
Yeah.
But yet we all have something in common. And in mental health, doing this long enough, like John and I have, we have identified the underlying threads in people that even though some people's situation might be very unique, we have a lot of the same characteristics. We go through a lot of the same emotions. We have a lot of the same behaviors when we're being hurt, right? When the depression hurts too much, when that trauma hurts too much, we isolate. We let ourselves spiral. We let the ruminating thoughts happen. We let all of those things into our lives. So for somebody who's walking by, you said skepticism was one of the main things that you're seeing here in the booth. What are some of the things that you might say to somebody who's saying, oh my gosh, no, this is voodoo medicine. It's never going to work on me. You don't understand me. I'm special.
I wouldn't tell them anything. I would first ask, what questions do they have and what makes them think that it wouldn't be something that would work for them, and if they would be open to trying something different, being that everything that they do traditionally hasn't worked and doesn't work for a lot of people, and then ask if they would give it a try.
So our listeners are probably hearing a lot of the background noise because it is getting quite busy here. We are again located at the Monroe County Fair in the First Merchant Expo Center, and that is happening today, Saturday, when you're listening to this show. And we are going to be here until 9 p.m. tonight in our booth. We're going to be answering people's questions. We're going to be hearing your stories. If you've listened to us on the radio for a really long time and you would like to come and meet John and I in person, this is the time to do it. It's a very relaxed atmosphere, very open atmosphere. We can answer your questions honestly, and maybe you're listening today and you have heard about Fabric Air, the new phone network that John is launching, where you can have 100% control of all of your communications, 100% control.
Complete the experience. Sign up at www.mykblend.com or call 734-605-8500.
And so, John, tell us a little bit more about that control. We spoke before about having parental control, and maybe you have an elderly mom or dad that isn't thinking maybe too clearly, and so you're worried that scammers are going to get a hold of them. And your mom, for example, my mother-in-law, she was just recently scammed. It's happening every day to thousands of Americans around this country, and we're getting scammed, right? And it's happening specifically, of course, we know, targeted to elderly people. So tell us a little bit more about Fabric Air and those security measures that you have put in this new program that you, as a consumer of the product, that you would be able to control yourself.
Yeah, no joke. My mom literally told me, I just got off the phone with Microsoft. They fixed my computer for me. And I'm like, no, you didn't just say that. And, and my mom's not a dummy. I mean, like, we had computers in the house when I was a kid. So, like, she just wasn't somebody that I thought was ever going to be vulnerable. And yet they're so good at what they do that as soon as you talk to these people, they will convince you and they'll sell you, which is really different from what KBlend does. I mean, like, we really don't sell people here. Like, we really wait for people to be ready, and people really have to come to us before we even consider them a candidate to the program here. So it's very backwards, but really, Fabric Air is really less about the phones and more about creating those safe spaces, because if you can't have safe spaces for kids and vulnerable adults and just yourself to have those conversations that you don't necessarily want to have filtered by the algorithms, there aren't a lot of options anymore. I mean, they're watching our computers. They know where our cars are going. Like, the newer cars are even watching whether you're paying attention to the road or not, and they'll make your car pull over to the side of the road. So, like, the surveillance is getting so tight now that, like, really we can't do anything without somebody knowing how to find us at any given time. And Fabric Air really gives us that opportunity to be vulnerable among one another and to have those safe spaces again where we don't have some computer constantly checking us.
So I think what you're describing, John, scientifically, right, what happens anatomically speaking in the brain is that when you have that depression and anxiety and your brain shuts down, and we know that based on brain scans, PET scans, and CT MRI scans, we can look at the brain and we see that a depressed brain is very dark. There's not a lot of activity. And one of the first areas that shuts down is your prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of your brain, right? That part of your brain is responsible for executive level thinking. So high level thinking, prioritizing, rationalizing, be able to think your way through situations. So when you're talking about having that safe space, right, and having the courage to accept that and to walk into that, that's when your executive level thinking kicks in and you're able to tell yourself, this is safe, this is okay. And that's where the KBlend treatments come in at, because not only do we coach the person through the program and encourage them, provide psychotherapy if necessary, but a lot of coaching, right, goes into before and after every treatment and between your treatments if necessary. And we walk you through and down that path. And the executive level part of your brain, though, that prefrontal cortex has to be working properly in order for somebody to realize, I do have a choice. I can make that decision.
Yeah, I knew nothing about safe spaces, really, before I worked here. And to see people come out of just such decades, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, like, you're young coming out, Asacia. I mean, like, you're still only 25. I mean, like, we have people come through the clinic every day that have been in it for double your lifetime. I mean, decade upon decade, these people have made excuses to restructure and control and manage and manipulate their lives to convince themselves they're okay, because it's the only reality they've ever known. And they know they're in control of things, but they always thinking they're not, because if they could get a little more control, then they'd be okay. Not realizing that they're where they're at because of the control they've already got in their life. And I think that's really where even like Truth Book and the Fabric Air and all these spin-offs that KBlend has really produced is less about producing spin-off companies and more about providing resources to not just help our patients get better, but to create an environment where we're stopping the spread of this disease. Like, when we make it safe, you can have friends. Like, you can join Truth Book and bring your friends into a place where you can tell them things you may not even be able to tell them face to face. So, like, the question isn't, are you in control of your life? The question is, are you feeling things in your life? And that's only going to happen if you can be vulnerable and experience intimacy and actually know relationships.
You know, that's really interesting that you say that, because I just had a lady that I did a consultation with. We went through how you can get those raw emotions back through the KBlend process, right? So the raw emotions where she might cry and she might experience some intense crying. And she said to me, well, I see crying as bad. Do I have to go through that part?
Yeah, they do. Like, that's the really sad part. I don't know. Essentially, do you remember seeing your emotions as bad before you started here? I mean, you were kind of young. I don't know if you got that far.
I don't know if I'd say bad, but it's definitely something I avoided and suppressed. And to finally feel them and actually experience that and deal with it is something I never thought I'd do. And it's an intense type of emotion because I've always just numbed myself.
Yeah, you know, we get good at numbing.
Yeah.
But are we good at actually experiencing? You know, and then, you know, the excuse that everyone gives me is, well, you don't know how bad I got hurt. You don't know the narcissist that my spouse is or whatever. I mean, like, it's excuses that we make to justify decisions that ultimately destroy us. And the only victim is yourself. But yet you believe this thing because you've built up this fraud in your life. And really, without these safe spaces that KBlend's been so busy at creating, I don't know that we would have the success stories that we have.
I think for me, it was scary to feel my emotions again, but it was a breakthrough to finally have that. And what we do differently, what you guys do differently, is you work individually with each patient, and you don't just treat everybody like this is one specific for every patient, one specific treatment plan. And I think that's what helped me the most, because going in and out of traditional mental health, you know, hospitals, doctors, psychiatrists, this is the only place I've been to that has treated me with a specific plan. Like I feel like I've actually been cared for instead of just, here you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, we try hard to not put you into that cookie cutter mold, right, with these expectations. And that's why doing a consultation, which I do with each and every patient before they come into the program, to make sure that your goals for the treatment, your story, your background, that you will be a successful candidate with our program. And that's why we see above the national average results for the program, because we make sure that you will be a candidate. And again, we treat patients on all different spectrums of depression or anxiety, whether it's, again, something situational that they're going through. Maybe they had 3 pretty rapid deaths in their family and their friend group, or maybe they have been experiencing symptoms for over 30 years. We see patients on all different levels. And so it's important to know what your story is, what your background is, medications you've been taking, your suicidal ideations, any attempts that you've made, to make sure that we can help you. And of course, we're not going to take a penny from you until we know that it is going to help you, right? A lot of people are afraid that we are just here to make money. But John and I really do see this as a ministry, and that's why we treat every patient individually and make sure that you get the care that you deserve.
And I've saw that firsthand, getting to know you guys over the last 2-3 years, working very closely with each patient, and you treat everybody almost like family. I feel like family. Yeah. So that's why I feel so open to be able to talk to you guys about my story, my life, everything. I just feel like I'm at home when I come.
And you are doing such an amazing job with this today. I know that recording can sometimes be a challenge, and especially here at the fair, because there's a lot of people moving around and a lot of noise in the background. So for our listeners, again, we are at the Monroe County Fair in the First Merchant Expo Center. We are here today, Saturday, the day that the show is airing, until 9 p.m. I hope that you can come out and meet us. We are here to answer any questions that you might have. And Stacia, I know that you've been on the show several times, and one time we were trying to record a show show, and Satan was in the technology, and unfortunately it didn't record. But that was a really tough recording for you that we didn't capture for some crazy reason, a bug in the system, right? But you went through that, and John was primarily interviewing you for that particular segment. And I know that you got really emotional because a lot of things were brought up. How do you think that was one of the breakthroughs that you've recently had? You were just sharing with us about how that you're experiencing your emotions again. How did you handle that, having been through the KBlend program, and now you've been getting treatments for over a year for maintenance? How did you handle those emotions that came up when they kind of slammed you all at once?
It's something I've been asking for, but it's also been something I've been avoiding myself. And I wasn't ready to take that on yet, even though I kept asking, what am I missing? There's something missing. But I knew it was me that had to take the step to do the work, and I guess I didn't want to do that. So that first breakthrough was eye-opening, and it made me realize that you're not going to be ready, and you have to start regardless. And as soon as you do take that step, that's when the door opens for you. That's what I've come to realize.
And you don't even seem nervous today.
I don't seem nervous, but I am nervous. But I'm trying my best.
I mean, I see probably 100 people in sight right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a lot of people that I can see just watching us stand here do this recording. And I would say you look great.
Thanks. So do you guys.
I mean, you sound wonderful. I mean, like, I actually think the more that you've come and volunteered more and more of your time with us, I almost think that's even better than you getting treatments. I mean, like, I have seen in these, I don't even know what it's been, last few months that we've really been having you come in on a regular basis with us. And I mean, I know you feel the nerves, but you know what? I do too. Like, when there's people watching you, there's a normal level of anxiety that we all deal with every day. And I would say that what you're going through is very healthy. Like, you're learning to be able to have these experiences with people in a way that it can be safe to be out here in the middle of the fairgrounds. So
I have to insert myself. I guess the more you do something that scares you, the more you get used to it and the more you get comfortable with it. So I had to pep talk myself the last couple of days, like, you can do this, remember why you're doing this, and remember how many people it's going to help, and make them feel like it's okay to speak about their story and their struggles so they can get the help that they need. So this is why I'm doing it, and I want to give back to you guys because you've helped me more than you realize. So that's why I do this, and I do it for other people too.
And I think you learned something else too today. Like, when we were standing here, I don't know what it was, a few minutes ago, and this guy walks up and obviously he didn't want to talk to us, but he also knew he needed to talk to us. You know, those situations, you know, where like, okay, maybe I should do this. And then, you know, he starts off by telling us, oh, he's a social worker. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I've met your type. You're one of those people that went into the business to try to help others, so that you could then figure out how to help yourself.
Right.
And so the more I talked to him a little bit, he's just not ready. And yet he knows tomorrow he's going to go back to work and try to help somebody else. And yet he's not even ready for his own emotions yet. And I don't know. The best I can tell you is I'm thrilled that you're able to see these things. I mean, it helps you put into perspective what it is you've been through when you're watching us sit here and love these people one step at a time. I mean, we could sit here and try to harass these people, but the reality is to make them a real candidate for treatment, we have to love them. And you've just been part of that this week. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be a part of this. This is something I never imagined that I'd become a part of. So it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like I'm getting somewhere, and I'm able to contribute to helping people in the community. So.
Well, Stacia, thank you so much for being with us today out here at the Monroe County Fair in the First Merchant Expo Center. We have had a great time recording this segment for our listeners today, and it's such a pleasure to be able to share mental health struggles, right? Like we can do that open and honestly here on WMUZ. They allow us to do that. And that's why we continue to be advertisers here with WMUZ and have this show so that way we can support others with their mental health and share with them the amazing life-saving treatments of KBlend. So we hope that you join us out here at the Monroe County Fair in the First Merchant Expo Center building until 9 o'clock p.m. tonight on Saturday when you're listening to the show. We will be here live. We hope that you come out and share your story with us. Talk to us about what's been going on in your life. There's better ways than self-medicating. There's better ways than trying to stuff your emotions. There's better ways than to try to just ignore everything that's going on in your life by hiding in your bedroom and crawling underneath the covers, right? There is help out there. We are here to help you.
And don't forget to visit us online, www.mykblend.com, or you can call us 734-605-8500. You don't have to come to the fair, although it'd be an amazing opportunity to come see us. We are still available online, and you can actually sign up. If you're not even ready to talk to us, you can sign up for Truth Book. You can get into Fabric Air. Like, there's so many things you can do online on our website long before you even have to talk to us to kind of start just edging yourself into that safe space. And we don't harass people. Like, you can sign up quietly. You can browse profiles of some of our patients. You can look for people that, share the concerns you have. And you can even try to reach out to somebody, privately right there on our website. If you think about it, it's probably the Facebook of safety, where you can be real and authentic instead of having to look good. Which is really why we've created all these tools, is to give you the opportunity to allow yourself to be human and have real relationships rather than that facade that we're always trying to put on the other book.
It's the opportunity to take off that mask, right? The mask
Ouch.
that you have to walk around with and pretend that you're smiling, right? Take that mask off and let's see the real you.
Yeah, if you want to visit www.mykblend.com, that's MYKBLEND.com, you might be a little surprised at the opportunities you find there. And you can visit a little bit at a time.
You've been listening to The KBlend Show with your hosts, John and Krista Kleider. Thank you for joining us. You can find out more about this revolutionary treatment at mykblend.com, or you can speak directly to a KBlend expert by calling 734-605-8500. And join us each Saturday afternoon at 1 for more honest stories of healing and hope with The KBlend Show on 103.5 FM WMUZ The Light. Detroit, Maine, Bible Strong.